Barry Geraghty were walking under the arches into the winners' enclosure at the Punchestown Racecourse, a place you've entered 120 times as a victorious jockey on horseback. What must that feel like?
It's brilliant, there's no doubt. It's an amphitheatre in here, but the Punchestown Festival is where you want to win in this country, especially. It's our equivalent to Cheltenham, and it is up there. The buzz, the atmosphere, the crowd that come racing. They love to see the superstars, they love to see the performances. There's nothing better than walking in here, especially on the Tuesday after winning the William Hill Champion Chase. This place will be electric.
As an Irish jockey, this is where you want to be. I remember coming here in 2013 to arguably one of the best receptions a British horse has ever got at an Irish track. Sprinter Sacre was a celebrity, and we got to see him here at Punchestown. That was a special day.
It was brilliant. Even beforehand, the crowd was 10 deep. Everyone had turned up to see him. And, he was his usual self. He was prancing around, looked a picture. And through the race, he was keen. He jumped brilliantly. Everything was going as smooth as silk. Size in Europe, again, was the opposition. He'd beaten them 20 lengths in the Champion Chase at Cheltenham. And was travelling brilliantly all the way until when he just ran into the dip facing the fourth last fence. And he just hit a patch of heavy ground and it sucked the life out of him. So I had to nurse him from there and nurse them into the straight. And I'm ideally wanting to delay my challenge as long as I could because I wasn't sure how much I had in the tank. But Andrew was bringing me wide on the runs in the second last, so I had to commit to get my position. He was good at the second last, he was brave, and then he was really brave at the last one. I asked him again and he pulled away and he won well in the finish, but it probably wasn't the performance people were expecting. I'd say they were expecting fireworks, but it just goes to show the Cheltenham Punchestown double, or even if you try and fit Aintree in the middle, which he did, and he was the first horse to do it, to do the treble since Isterbrack. It's a very difficult thing to do, so it's Sprinter pulled it off, but not many have.
There are only four horses have managed to win the William Hill Champion Chase back to back. They are Light the World, Clairon Davis, that marvellous horse for Arthur Moore. You mentioned Size in Europe, and Untitled. It would be something special for Energumene to do it at such a young age. This year it would be a real mark of his achievement for him.
Definitely, and his ability, because he's a very, very good horse. And as I say, I think we saw a better version of him this year in the Champion Chase of Cheltenham than we saw last season. He was really good here at Punchestown last season. And as I say, if he reproduces anything close to that, he's going to be very hard to beat again.
How does it feel to be back here, and what is it usually like?
Oh, it's a lot calmer than what it will be in a few weeks' time. There's a buzz, anticipation, nervous energy.
Nervous energy?
Oh, there's a mix, depending on the characters. Some are just pumped, maybe too much adrenaline flowing. Others are curled up, feeling a little bit anxious, a little bit worried. Others then are breezing in and breezing out. Some are, different personalities, different. So it is, it's your typical big meeting, but the stakes are high. Anticipation, anxiety, all those things are weighing. But I would have started down there, worked my way up to about midway.
Is it a progression?
Progressing over the years. On the other side, Ruby would have finished up by the door. I finished halfway here beside Paul Carberry. He went before me. And then there's another group of valids on the other end where Davy Russell is on the wall that's facing us at the bottom. That's with Davy's pitch. So it'll be interesting to see if Davy takes a seat there this year.
You come here to the Punchestown Festival. What I always found completely different was you have your British counterparts or colleagues coming across. They get their unusual spot on the bench that isn't usually theirs. What's the jocularity like amongst the jockeys?
It's good, it's always good, and there's always, over the years, even to go back to when I started first, and you had Richard Dunwoody, Adrian Maguire, Norman Williamson, Jason Titley, Graham Bradley. Graham was a brilliant character and caring as well, looking out for lads. So there was always a good mix, but I suppose in my younger years, you would have the English jockeys coming over and you would feel this level of professionalism. They seem fitter, they seem sharper. Just because you weren't as familiar with them, if you like, and there were the faces from TV. But you're looking at these names that you've grown up watching and dreaming of being that person someday. So it's exciting for a youngster to come in here and be taking part on the same stage as their heroes.
And of course, Barry, the track itself here at Punchestown has its own characteristics, its own challenges. As a rider, it takes a little bit of knowing.
It does, it really does. And, you know, everyone looks at Cheltenham and talks about Cheltenham and the undulations and the hill and the climb and how tough a track it is. Punchestown, albeit it's different, is equally tough as well and has its fair share of undulations. And as you see behind us, you know, you race away past, jump the last fence, if you like, or the last hurdle, you go into a dip after the winning post, you climb out of that, up on the across the top you're climbing, and then you have a steep downhill run down the side. Now it's more exaggerated on the chase track because the wider you go, the higher the climbs are. But there's a big roller coaster type run down the hill away from the stands here, and then it levels off across the back straight.
There's a bit of a camber in the back straight.
A little bit of a camber, but I suppose when you're riding it wouldn't really affect you much. It is falling away towards the inside, but it's only when you get to the turn out of the back straight where that camber comes into play, if you like. But still, it wouldn't affect it. It's level as regards you're not climbing at any point really, and it probably lures riders into maybe going a little bit quicker than they should, because when you turn out of the back straight, albeit you run into a dip, then you have a climb, and that climb from 3 out on the hurdle track over 2 out and up here to the point of the bend, there's a big climb there. And there's a lot of work involved, and it's when you turn into the straight you realise, oh, I still have a
a long way from home here. Yeah.
To get home. And it's not, I wouldn't call it a stiff straight, but with the work you've done before you get into the straight, that's where horses can be caught out. And you often see horses caught out here late on, where especially with only one hurdle in the straight, riders can press the button a little bit early. On the chase track maybe not so much because you have 2 fences in the straight. Now you have a longer straight, but you will jump the second last maybe before you press the button, and you don't have as far from there to get home.
When you straighten up, you've got 2 fences ahead of you. Can you hear the crowd, or is it just you and the horse?
It's background noise, like anywhere, be it Cheltenham, Aintree, Ferrios, Punchestown. There is noise there. It doesn't register. It's just background music. But here, in particular on the chase track, we don't have fences out today, but the second last fence is at a slightly different angle to the last, in that you're jumping facing the stands. So the line you're on is actually jumping into the stands, and some horses can lose a little bit of concentration. I know it cost Moscow Flyer in the Champion Chase in 2003, but he took his eye off the fence because he had one eye in the stands. So you often see horses maybe making mistakes there, where the last fence isn't that way. You're facing down the track, and horses concentrate and watch what they're doing, but the stands can be a little bit of a distraction at the second last.